All right, what's good, y'all? Today, let's talk about the top 10 CHH songs from 2023. This was a very good year to be a Christian hip hop fan. I feel like as a genre, we elevated a little bit more this year, and it just seems like you're just seeing the growth and development more and more of CHH. But before we do dive into a top 10 list, I want to give out some honorable mentions because just trying to list 10 songs out of this entire year was so hard, bro. I had to put some serious thought and time into this, and I moved stuff around, and honestly, it might depend on the day on where I put some of this stuff. But I've got some honorable mentions that I want to talk about, so let's go ahead and dive into those. For our first honorable mention, we have got Digital by Heaven on Earth. This introduced us to Heaven on Earth. Like I said, bro, these honorable mentions, like, they're tough. Like, obviously, there's so many good songs in a year, and it hurt to leave this off of the top 10, but it just didn't quite make it for me. But this song is one of those songs I would absolutely love to hear live. You got the whole gang up there on the stage, like that would be crazy. But yeah, this was the one that introduced us to Heaven on Earth. Then they went on to drop an absolute banger of an album. It's some people's album of the year, not mine personally, but it was definitely up there. For our next honorable mention, this might come as a surprise for those that do watch this channel and watch some of the reactions I've had. It's Walk by Hulvey and Lecrae. If you remember my reaction to that, I just really wasn't blown away by it. And I just want to let you know that has completely changed, bro. Like, I don't know what did it. I know one thing. I heard it at Smoke 23. That was crazy. Like, Walk Live was insane. But just even before that, though, I noticed that, like, I was actually starting to really enjoy Walk. And to me, that just shows you, like, how music is so objective and that there is no definitive right or wrong answer for music taste. Like, everybody has their own taste. Things grow on you in different ways. And like, at first, I wasn't crazy about this track. And then over time, it's one of my top songs from this year. But next up, we have got Creep by Clesso and John Keith. And while it's on my mind, I want to pause right quick and talk about Help by Eclesso. This was a track that I kind of forgot about. I never listened to. I remember him dropping it and seeing snippets of the music video and it looked dope and everything, but I never actually went and listened to the song. The other day, I saw Help by Eclesso. I was like, let me listen to this. Bro, Help is crazy. I don't want to say groundbreaking, but like groundbreaking in CHH is the word that came to my mind with that track. That track is crazy. Like, honestly, if I had more time to sit with Help, it might would have been in this top 10, but like, I've only been on it for like a week now, and that's too much recency bias for me to include. But Help was crazy. But let's talk about Creep also with Eclesso, but my boy John Keith in there as well. This song was a banger. It came out at like the perfect time. It's got those kind of Halloween spooky vibes to it, and they dropped it right around Halloween. That was a really good drop. And speaking of Eclesso and music videos, the Creep music video was phenomenal. The visual of that was just so tough, bro. And speaking of recency bias, our next honorable mention is a bit different. It's not just a song, it's an album that I just haven't had enough time to sit with, and that is Joey Vontez's North Star Deluxe, because the Deluxe had like 6 more songs on it or something like that. North Star is so good, bro. I understand why he dropped it around this time. There's a lot of winter vibes to it, especially the Winter Night song. The one before that, what is that called? On the Outside Looking In, I believe is what it's called. Just feel super wintry, if that makes any sense. But that album has been fantastic. But yeah, it's just going to make the honorable mention list. I don't want to put any recency bias in because, like, of course, if I can compare it to some of the songs that are in the top 10 now, I might be rocking more with Joey, but that's because I've had almost an entire year to sit on those songs and they just don't hit quite the same as they did. But some of my favorites from Joey's album are All of My Children, Chamber of the Wave, and There He Goes. Bro, There He Goes is so smooth. Like, it'll get you dancing. If you don't dance to There He Goes, I don't trust you. But our last honorable mention goes to the man himself, No Big Deal. He dropped, I believe, 4 or 5 tracks. That's just off the top of my brain. I can't remember exactly how many it was. But my favorite out of the 2 were Lighter Fluid and Go With The Ghost. Both of those are really, really good tracks. But I think we all know what we're waiting for from Dilly. Dilly 2024, there's got to be an album coming out. I mean, we're talking about President Dilly right now, bro. There's no way he does not drop an album this year. But yeah, that does it for the honorable mentions. Let's go ahead and dive into this top 10 list. I'm so excited, guys. So number 10 is going to be Flesh by Aha Gazelle. Aha was so quiet for most of this year, bro. And it seemed like as soon as September came around, he was like, let me take over 2023. And bro just went crazy for the rest of 2023. You get a super transparent Aha Gazelle in this track, which is totally normal for Aha. I love how real and transparent it is. And some Christians try to slay him for that very thing. People don't like realness. Some people just want to pretend. We're not getting in that tangent, but this track is super transparent. I'm an absolute sucker for transparency. I like how the beat in this track, like it feels that intensity. It brings an intensity to it. And I can kind of relate it to the fact of when your flesh is really, really craving something, kind of that intense feeling you get in your chest because there's like a war going on between spiritual and flesh, and you've got this intense feeling in your body. That the beat to flesh makes me feel that, if that makes any sense. Like it's a very similar feeling. There's just a lot of intensity there, and I think that was just a beautiful production for this song. But the September Season Pack Volume 3 was so good. It was so hard for me to pick a song. I didn't want to put all 3 of the songs in the top 10, but honestly, depending on the day, it might like change which song I put in because I love them all. But Morning Sun, like, bro, they're all so good, but ultimately I went with Flesh on this one. So number 9 is going to be More of You by Hulvey and Aha Gazelle. Aha Gazelle got the first 2 spots. So this here is actually the newest song that came out of the top 10. This track is just more transparency. You're going to find out, like I've already said, I'm a sucker for transparency. I love it. I can just really relate to this song in the season of life that I'm in. I'm kind of like, you know I need more of you, but so many times I don't choose more of him. I choose what my flesh wants and like just choosing to not spend time with him. And then I sit around and wonder why things aren't changing and I still feel the same way in my mind when ultimately I know I just need more of him. So this song is kind of like my anthem right now. And just this collab in general, Hulvey and Aha, it was one that I was really excited for, and they did not disappoint. They both did their thing on More of You. So coming in at number 8, we have got Stuck on the Elevator by Tori Deshawn. This is the track that opened me to the greatness that is Tori Deshawn. I was sleeping on bro, I'm not gonna lie, but I will say this, and I mean this completely out of love. He has stepped up his game this year so much. Like, I feel like his quality this year improved so much. This track dropped all the way back in February. So the beginning of the year, it is still to this day in my rotation playlist. It is rare that a song lasts that long in my rotation, but Stuck on the Elevator did. As I've mentioned in the 2 previous songs, I am a sucker for transparency, and that is like the definition of this song. I love the wordplay on how he does the up and down thing, like how it always makes sense. It's super real. I love how he managed to do that. It just feels like a Christian R&B song that actually works, and I'm not hating on that genre at all. There's just a lot of times when I hear a Christian R&B song, it just sits a little weird with me, and again, I'm not trying to knock that genre at all. I love R&B music. Just for some reason, Christian R&B, some songs of it, just sits weirdly with me, but this song is Christian R&B executed perfectly. But yeah, I'm so glad to see Tori with the Tribe. I'm excited to see what they do. Still Holy was a bop. It didn't quite make it in this top 10, but it would definitely be one of my honorable mentions. I think it was one of the better songs of the year. But next up, speaking of the Tribe, we have got Slidin' by Indie Tribe coming in at our number 7 spot. This song was one of the catchiest songs of the year, in my opinion. So many times, bro, I would just scream out, "Came up, quit, used to slip, now we slide it." Like, just out of nowhere, bro. It was constantly stuck in my head. But spoiler alert, this was not my favorite song on Low Blow. Spoiler alert. Coming in at number 6, and this is when things start getting really, really difficult for me. I know I said it was hard to rank all 10 because it was, but when it came from 6 down, I was like, I really don't feel like I can rank these. And I feel like they could change at any time. But, ladies and gentlemen, coming in at number 6, we have God Don't Lie by John Keith off of his latest project, So Lonely, an Eremos Story. This track, it's hard for me to put it in words. It's one of the best produced tracks of the year, period. There's no arguing that. The synths in this track, the beat changes when they happen, it is executed perfectly. And it's funny because in my notes here I have the only reason I'm not putting it higher is because of recency bias. This track came out not that long ago, and it's one that I just cannot stop listening to, and I get goosebumps almost every time. Like, It's so good. I will confidently say this. This is a top 5 John Keith song ever. This song is crazy. Coming in at number 5, we've got that boy John Keith again. Y'all better get used to seeing him. I ain't gonna lie. A slight spoiler, but we've got Dramatic. I can still tell you exactly where I was the first time I heard this track. I don't think I can do that for any other song on this list. Well, actually, that's not right because I did an album reaction to Eremos and Low Blow. So disregard that. But this one vividly sticks out because this track dropped before Eremos. And I actually heard the snippet of this before it even came out. John was on Ruslan's, do I call it a podcast or a live stream? Whatever. You know, Ruslan goes live on YouTube all the time. And John was the guest that day. And it was like he was talking about Eremos, and he might have even gave us the date. I'm not sure. But he actually had a track to play, and it was Dramatic. And I can remember sitting in my kitchen, at the kitchen bar. I'm sitting there in my chair. So he played like the first half, I believe it was, of Dramatic. And when that synth hit, I'm going to play it so you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. But when that hit, I got shivers and goosebumps. I felt like I was levitating. But you combine the synths with the stacked vocals, I'm good. I don't sound as good as John, but you know what I'm talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, what else could you ask for in a song? And that's just the producing side of things. We're not even talking about the lyrical content in the track. You get a very vulnerable John Keith, and just about anybody I feel like can relate to this one. And did I mention I'm a sucker for transparency? And coming in at number 4, we have, you know, it is not just a case of physical attraction. I admire her mind too. Oh, we got Pepe Le Pew. I told you, Sliding was not my favorite track off of Low Blow. It is Pepe Le Pew, which if you've noticed the trend here, it really shouldn't be a surprise, as I've already said multiple times. I'm a sucker for transparency. This track is so vulnerable, and each member of the tribe gives you some incredibly heartfelt verses. And speaking of the verses, Mowgli, that he delivered one of my favorite Mowgli verses I've ever heard. But it's not just about the vulnerability in this track, it is about the production as well. I don't know who produced this song, but whoever did, perfection. Like, in my opinion, this was one of the more unique sounds we got in tracks, especially in CHH this year. I really love it. I love how you can hear the kind of wilderness noises, if you know what I'm talking about. And with that, that makes me think of Eremos, not because it's produced like Eremos, but because of Eremos legit meaning like the wild place, a lonely place in the wilderness, that kind of thing. And you get those wilderness sounds. That I think that's why it just reminds me of the word Eremos. Yeah, Low Blow was my second favorite album this year. We are going to dive into what is my favorite, but most of y'all probably already know. But this is what I consider the Tribe's best work. They really did their thing with this. And Upper Hand and then Low Blow, that's their catalog right now. And they're both fantastic pieces of work. And now we got Tori in here now too. I'm excited to see what they come out with. So with our number 3 pick, we are going to completely change everything. How I've talked about transparency and stuff. And we're just going to talk about getting hyped up. Number 3, we have got Notre Dame by Heaven on Earth. This track, if you remember my reaction, literally in the thumbnail, it says Song of the Year ? This song goes astronomically hard, bro. If this doesn't get you pumped up, nothing else probably will. And if you walked up to me and said Notre Dame's the best song of this year, I'd say, yeah, you're not wrong. Like, it's not my personal, but it's definitely up there. I mean, it's number 3. The part when Akleso hops on this track is probably my favorite part of the song and one of the highest moments in a track I heard this year. The energy he brings into this song, which the energy is already high, but it feels like he just raises it up to an 11. And if there is one song from 2023 that I could hear live, it's Notre Dame. I'd pay a stupid amount of money to hear this live. It would go so crazy. If I ever hear this song live, I need them to do what Travis Scott and what Kanye and Jay-Z does. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Travis Scott performs Fiend like 7 times almost every show. I know he did at least twice in Pittsburgh and where was it? Was it Dallas or San Antonio or Houston maybe? It might have been Houston. I don't know, but he performs it like 7 times. And then Kanye and Jay-Z, when they were in Paris, you know, they performed the Brothers in Paris song. They did that like 11 times, bro. But no big deal. If you happen to watch this video, bro, I know you're like over Smokefest. Could y'all get Heaven on Earth there? Because that would be crazy. But speaking of Heaven on Earth, this group meshed so well, which I'm not really surprised when you look at the members of this group. Like, it really is a pretty stacked group. But for them, like, they just had the chemistry. The chemistry was there. This was a lot of people's album of the year. Like I said, not me personally. It was definitely a great album. But like, even with that being said, Like, yes, the group is stacked, but I was still really impressed for this to be their first project. I'm excited to see what they come out with as well. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We are on our last two songs. Coming in at number 2 is Die by Jon Keith. Where is God when I feel like taking my life? I can remember sitting here and hearing that, and immediately, not even 5 seconds into this album, I've already got goosebumps. When I heard that, I was like, oh, so he's coming in like that this year. If it is not incredibly obvious, guys, Eremos is my album of the year. It is, I know this is not an album review or anything like that, so I'm going to keep this short talking about Eremos, but it is just like, it's so good. You're actually getting like basically almost a story. There is so much relatability in this album, and you're getting a concept. That's the word I'm looking for. That is something that a lot of CHH albums really don't have, and that is starting to change, and that's really good to see. But you've got a conceptual album that just flows beautifully. It all makes sense. It all ties together. Like, it's just such a beautiful album. But in my opinion, Die is the best produced song of this year. From the start to the finish, it's really something special. You've got the gunshot, like that beat drop, that is so hard, dude. And the fact that this is an album intro, like, it's got to be one of the best album intros I've ever heard. But yeah, man, 2023 was really Jon Keith's year. He had the album of the year with Eremos. He was on Low Blow. He dropped banger singles this year like Please and Bobby. Like, it's a great time to be a Jon Keith fan. But let's move on to our number 1 spot. Ladies and gentlemen, the number 1 song of 2023, in my humble opinion, is Remedy by Jon Keith. If you have heard this song, you know what I'm talking about. Talk about beautiful. Talk about a heartfelt song. Talk about a song that God is just all over, bro. There is no way you hear this song and you don't feel God's presence. I feel like I could talk about this song, just this song, for like an hour. It's so emotional. This song makes me cry. I can't tell you how many times I've cried to this song. Even now, bro, like, I don't cry every time, but it makes me cry. It's so emotional. And I had the absolute privilege of hearing this song live. And, you know, I was front row at Smoke 23, especially day one. I was literally in the front. And just seeing Jon give this song his all, and, you know, near the end there when he's saying hold me and all that, and then you really get the production coming in and you just have that beautiful moment. He was just on his knees worshiping God, and bro, it was crazy, man. And this is the last thing I'm going to say about Eremos, because I know I've talked about it a lot, but it deserves the talk. If you have not listened to Eremos, please do yourself a favor and go listen to it. It is a beautiful experience. But ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up my top 10 CHH songs of 2023. Like I said, it was a really good year for CHH. I'm glad to see it just keep evolving. I'm really excited for 2024. If you guys want to see a video kind of talking about my expectations and what I'm hopeful for 2024, if you'd like to see that, drop that down in the comments below, as well as let me know what you thought about my list. Be sure to drop your top 10 list down below, as I'm sure all of ours look different. But if you went on to enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe if y'all are new around here. If you have any video you'd like to see, a reaction or anything like that, drop that below as well. I appreciate you guys, and I will catch you in the next video. Peace. Happy 2024, y'all.